So we're coming up to the first week in August, and that means that it must be Goodwood. And Goodwood is one of the highlighted meetings of the year. It's not the same as a Royal Ascot or a Cheltenham, but nonetheless it is a major meeting, and therefore it's worth examining in a little bit more detail. So one of the first things that you should be aware of about Goodwood is it's a big meeting, but it's not massive, and therefore the trading conditions vary quite dramatically from one race to another. That's the first thing that you need to examine when you're trading Goodwood. Now, it's not as big as some of the other meetings. It's not as big as a Cheltenham or an Ascot, but it's certainly quite big in its own right. So you tend to find when trading Goodwood that you have a big feature race in the middle of the day, and they top and tail that with other sorts of racing. So trading conditions can undulate more than the course behind me. But it's a very big meeting, and it's certainly worthy of your attention. Another important aspect of trading Goodwood is the course topography. What do we mean by that? Well, basically it undulates dramatically. It's on top of a hill, and the finishing straight is actually a downhill gradient. So it's worth examining that to see how it could impact your trading strategies. So I'm stood just outside the 5 furlong marker here. You can see it actually dips down towards 6 furlongs, rises as we get towards 5 furlongs, and then as the horses bolt down towards the finish line in the grandstand in the distance there, you can see the elevation decreases again. Very interesting course. So Goodwood is an interesting course because, like a lot of courses in the UK, it's not manicured and flat. It's not artificial. It's a real course. It's perched on top of a hill, and the course undulates a lot. You can see one of the starts over here in the distance, and you can see how it rises to where I am now before heading off towards the finish over here. So yeah, a very varied and challenging course for a number of reasons. So Goodwood doesn't trade the same way as a small meeting, but it also doesn't trade like an Ascot. So what does it trade like? Well, let's have a look at a video I recorded at a previous Goodwood meeting. So here's a trade from Goodwood that I managed to capture last week. It's only a small one. It was the first race of the day. I tend not to be that aggressive on the first race of the day. But you can see here we've got something priced at 3s. There's fair amounts of money above and below the current price, and most of the money is getting matched at 3 and 305. So if we look at the chart of the favourite, you can see there that it's sort of stuck for ages. There's a little blip there, but generally it's completely stuck, and you can see that the price is trying to sort of head down or do something, but it keeps getting replenished at that particular point within the market. You can see out of all the money that's been matched here, there's been 84,000 at 3, 45,000 at 305, and not much above it. And the money that was above it was that blip that you saw within the market. But you can see that there's been more money matched at 298 and 296 below it. But fundamentally what's happening here is the market is sort of static at that point. So by taking this position, I'm basically anticipating that the price is going to come down. I'm saying, well, that the money being held at 3 for that length of time is artificial, and as long as I can see pressure elsewhere in the book, in other words drifting prices elsewhere in the book, and that's going to lend pressure on the favourite to keep coming in. And part of the judgment here is that the person that's trying to hold it up at 3s, or the amount of money that's pinning it at 3, is eventually going to run out, and then the price will ping in. Now sometimes this doesn't happen because you just run out of time, but this is the strategy that I chose on this particular race at this particular moment in time. So you can see we've put our orders in. We've put in as much as I feel comfortable doing, and it's just a question of waiting for that thing to happen. Now if it didn't happen, you just push your orders back into the market and you may make a small loss. But you can see here it's just pinged now. There was money matched at 3 quite a bit, and then a decent order came in and matched it at 298, and you can see the move has started. So as soon as the move starts, I start thinking about where is this going to go. So rather than putting the entire order back in at one particular point, what I do is just spread the orders out and just sort of say, well, I think it's going to go somewhere around here, and therefore I'll get a good average exit price. I won't get it exactly right, I probably won't be too low, and I probably won't be too high, but I'll just get a generally good exit point within the market. Now if you've got loads of time left, you could actually trade it if you think it's going to head back up in the other direction. But generally that's not what I do, especially if there's not much time left. This is the setup that we're looking for. The trade has occurred, and now it's just a question of deciding when is a good point to get out of this particular market. So I think that this point is around sort of, the low 280s, somewhere around there, to get out of the market. So it's just a question then of gradually putting those orders back into the market. The reason we don't dump the trade in is because we want a good average exit price, but also we don't want to scare the market at that particular moment in time. So we've just gently fed the orders back in, and away we go. So yeah, if you see a flat line price there, have a look at the market, assess what's going on, and you may be able to do the same trade as well. Another interesting aspect of Goodwood is the course layout, because you've got the grandstand on top of the hill, but you also have another hill next to it, and unusually that plays part of the Goodwood meeting as well. So it's interesting to examine and look at that, but also that could present a few opportunities either for viewing or actively trading the Glorious Goodwood meeting. So to get a really good view of the course, you need to come up on the hill that adjoins Goodwood. It's an old Iron Age fort, I think, by the layout. But you can see down here the very lowest point within the course, and you can see how that rises up and over the top of the hill. Then it dips slightly where we get the fork, and then after the fork it rises again towards the top of the crest of the hill, and then it descends again as we come towards the 5 furlong marker, and then you can see it's predominantly downhill until we get to the finish line at the grandstand. So this is the view down the finishing straight. You can see in the distance there the finishing post and the main grandstand. But we're at quite an elevated position here as we head down towards the finish line. It's quite amazing when you stand here just to see how high it is. I don't think you get a real realization of that when you're looking at this course on the television. So one of the wonderful things about Goodwood is the beautiful countryside. There's a beautiful hill I'm strolling across at this particular moment. And of course, because it's Goodwood, we're only ever a short distance away from being able to place a bet. On the hill, they even have tote pool and Betfair stands. So right behind me on the hill where I'm filming here, there's actually 2 more masts. You can see one here and one here. So I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'll do a speed test and we'll see what sort of connection I can get from up here. And the remarkable thing is I can actually get a connection of 30 up and 30 down. Now, of course, the ping is slightly longer here, but nonetheless, if you wanted somewhere to trade and witness this beautiful countryside and perhaps even a bit of racing, then this would be an absolutely ideal spot. So it wasn't that long ago that we were treated to a bit of a gamble, but more importantly than that, it happened at Goodwood one year. Ryan Moore was on Poets World, and there was a little bit of support for Poets World, and he went on and won that particular race. So people, and especially because of the changing ground conditions, sort of put 1 and 1 together and made 4. So that's what happens sometimes. But basically, especially at the big meetings, you very often see that the money transfers from one pattern to another. And on this occasion, Ryan Moore won the first race, so let's have a quick gamble on the next horse. So what actually happened on that next race was a little bit more money came for Ryan Moore. Now, if you're trading the market, you will start to pick up on this. And of course, what happened on the next race? Master of the World, a lot of money started coming in for Master of the World. But what actually happened was that the price came in initially and then it reversed and went back out. And it's like, oh, that's a bit odd. However, Ryan Moore went on and won on that particular race. So very, very quickly, as soon as I could see that he was in the lead and was about to cross the line, I just sent out a message giving you the name of the next horse that he was about to ride, which was Washington, DC. I remember that one very well. And Washington, DC was in a competitive handicap, but when you're at these big meetings, people have had a few drinks and people put 1 and 1 together and start to form an opinion on something that could happen, and the money started to go down from Washington, DC. It opened at 20s because it was a very competitive handicap, and remarkably, the backing just came in and continued and really accelerated. So as soon as I could see that the backing was there, I sent out a message on Twitter to inform people that they should probably get involved in this particular trade. So yeah, if you see a message like this, then that generally tells you I'm looking at something, I've seen all of the things line up, and we're now seeing the money. So yeah, it was incessant, unrelenting backing on that particular runner, and it eventually went off at 5s. So it started at 20s, went off at 5s. That's a difference of 15. If you put £100 on at 20, I'm not saying that you could have done this, but we're just giving you an idea of the scale here. If you put £100 on at 20, trade it out at fives and hedged your position, you'd have £300. So you can imagine you put 1,000 on, you'd have £3,000. So unbelievable move. Maybe you couldn't get it at 20, you would have got it further and further down there. But nonetheless, what I'm saying to you here is there was a massive opportunity here, and probably the best one of the meeting. So Goodwood is definitely a meeting that should be worthy of your attention. It has a couple of little quirks and characteristics that you may not have seen as you've been trading throughout the year, but nonetheless it's one of those key feature weeks that you're looking to do a little bit better than average out of. And hopefully some of these tips will have given you a steer in terms of how it's likely to trade.